You know, there was a clip of you that went viral in the wrestling community. And I don't know if it was a real thing or if it was the timing of it, but there were these reports that Vince was back when everyone thought, you know, he was not going to be running things. And there was a clip of you at Raw. You were in the ring. You came out. You were in the ring. They went to a commercial. You looked like you were a little upset talking to someone. And then like you left the ring and never had a segment. And people thought maybe Vince was like changing the script on the fly. Do you remember that whole thing? Because it was all over the place.
Yeah, that was not a big deal. I was upset, but it was mostly just a production miscommunication. Was that the night after Mania, maybe? I think
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and the intent of the segment was to go to break with the audience singing my song, allow them to sing during the break, come back up, they might still be singing, and then drift off into nothingness, and just like musical interlude for the Raw after Mania. But for whatever reason, that never made it through to production. And so when we go to commercial, instead of just letting the crowd party, they did the thing where they blocked the house, shut down the music, and play the stupid video packages, which messed up what the whole plan was. And so the crowd was trying to sing, but you've got Stone Cold Steve Austin talking about Broken Skull Ranch or whatever on the thing, and DX, and I'm like, what? Did no one get the memo? So it was just a production snafu. But in the middle of the commercial break, I'm yelling to try to get it turned off so they can keep singing. But it was already a disaster. The crowd was confused, didn't know what to make of it, and then we came back and did the rest of the segment, but it didn't translate the way you would want it to because the crowd wasn't able to participate the way the segment was meant to be planned. So I wasn't really that upset about that. That was just a bad handling. Now, over the last decade or so, I've been pretty upset in different instances. I would say the beginning of 2022 was the most angry I've ever been. There's like 2 to 3 different instances that I'm not going to get into specifically, but like essentially from the day one pay-per-view to the getting the match with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. That process was very frustrating for me. It ended in a good way and we got into a good place, but to getting there was not ideal. And I very much voiced my concerns at that point in time. And
Can you share what was the frustration? Just that it was taking too long, or like what was the, I don't know if you can even go in a roundabout way. Like what made you pissed off?
What I was told leading into the day one pay-per-view changed drastically after day one and every single week following that pay-per-view, all the way up to, I believe, Elimination Chamber at Crown Jewel or whatever the major Saudi show in February was. So there was like a 6-week window where everything I was told was changing from week to week to week. And I was like, because when you're creative, when you're trying to do something creatively, you have a vision in your head of how you see it, you're trying to piece things together to tell the best story you can. And when that consistently gets changed and the rug keeps getting pulled out from underneath you, or the goalposts keep moving, and then finally the goalposts just get ripped out completely, and now you're looking at the biggest show of the year with possibly nothing on the table, or possibly some bastardized version of what could be good, it leaves you very frustrated with the process. And so I was very frustrated with the process. I think that was the timeline, 2022, I want to say. And then again, Cody Rhodes coming over, us having the story leading into WrestleMania, having the match. So the last month, like March, I was solid, pretty good. But everything leading up to that was a very difficult time for me, creatively speaking.
Yeah. When you're voicing your opinion on that, do you feel like you're heard at least? Like are people like, okay, we'll try to fix it? Or is that part of the frustration that you feel like they're not listening to you?
I mean, everybody's listening. I think, I've gotten to a place where my opinion is valid and people are hearing what I have to say. Now, whether or not that opinion goes into the decision making process is a different story. You know, I'm not privy to a lot of meetings that happen or other conversations with other talent or other executives backstage. So I voice my concerns to who needs to hear them, but whether or not they take that information and utilize it the way I want them to isn't up to me, right? It's not my
Right.
sandbox. I
Right.
don't make those rules. So at the end of the day, I have a job to do. I go out, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, but I want to make it the best it can be, not just for me, but for this entire show, for the product, for everything. And so you do your best, but at the end of the day, you have a job to do and, you make the best of it. And that's part of any work environment, really.